All right, as we continue talking about the new signees for the BGSU Falcon class of 2011-12 coming in next season, next player that we want to highlight is Ted Pletsch, and of course anybody that's familiar with the CCHA kind of knows that last name, but let's talk about the individual. Ted is he is a product of the Pembroke system of the CJHL, a winger standing at 6'3", 206, another one of those guys that you want to put in the front line and with some size.
Yeah. Ted was one of those guys that Barry saw play early this year. Pembroke Lumber Kings are just they are synonymous with winning in the Central Junior Hockey League. They win at a high level, not only in the league but nationally. And talking to their coaching staff early and hearing what role Ted plays in that was pretty amazing. And then spending time with Ted, he's one of those kids that truly, when you spend time with him, you get a sense of what makes him tick, so to speak. And he's all about winning. He's all about expectations. I think from the hockey side, there's a physical size there, but he's a role player. He's somebody we're gonna look to fill a role on our team, and that's a forechecking, hard to play against type role. I do think he gets around the ice pretty well for a big guy. You know, I think he's killed penalties in the past. I think he's in the top 3 or 4 in the Central Junior League in terms of shorthanded goals. So he's somebody that we expect to fight for ice time in the penalty kill unit, which you guys know how important that is to us as special teams. So we just look at Ted as a real good piece of the puzzle. He has that personality and that leadership to him where people want to be around him and want to do what he's doing, and he takes that same approach in the weight room. And you know, he's a young man that knows what he wants in the classroom, and I think he's going to fit in really well around here and really do well based on our culture and how he approaches every day anyway.
And of course, as you said, a role player, is that something that could be expanded upon with Ted's performance? Obviously, there's expectations immediately, but down the road, 4 years from now, what are the expectations of a guy like Ted Pletsch?
Absolutely, I see him as a leader. I see him as somebody that he's doing the same thing in college as he's doing in junior, which is basically a guy who can check anybody in the league in terms of playing against. He can kill penalties on a nightly basis. Now, whether he chips in and ends up on the power play or not, that's yet to be determined. The expectations are he's going to be more than a functional part of our lineup, a contributing part of our lineup are the expectations. What I like about it, those are Ted's expectations, not just ours. I think his expectations are going to exceed ours, and ultimately he's going to go and make that happen. And that's what basically drew him to us.
The next recruit that will be joining the Falcons next season will be Marcus Perrier. It's a Sioux Falls product out of the USHL once again, standing at 6'1", a little bulkier, 225 pounds at the forward position. And continuing with that theme of size, just talk about what he's going to bring to the table.
Well, Marcus is actually a defenseman. He's playing defense for Sioux Falls. He's the captain there. They're currently in a playoff push. He is a guy, again, that, he was a little bit of a later pickup in his first half of the year. He was visiting schools, and it looked like Marcus was going to commit somewhere by Christmas time, because we weren't really sure what our needs were at that time. And that kind of came full circle, and we figured it out that this is what we needed. And when we reached back out to Marcus, it really was obvious that he was looking for the right fit, the right staff, the right opportunity, and we got him here and had a chance to spend time with him. Another outstanding kid. He's got a little bit of a history with a couple of our current guys in Grover and Rodriguez. They played together in Sioux Falls. He's a third-year player there this year. Marcus is he shoots the puck very well from the point. He's not a guy that necessarily runs a power play, but he's a guy that's on the power play. He's hard to play against. You look at his penalty minutes, he's a guy that he holds people accountable for their actions on the ice, if you will. But he's a kid that can play the game. Obviously, in college, it's not as much of an element as that policing as a junior and pro, and so we had to make sure that he could play, and he can play. We're very excited about Marcus and adding him to our D-core and seeing how he does on a daily basis with the expectations like we have, because again, I think Marcus is a guy that could have a chance to play hockey beyond college.
as far as the size goes, let's just talk about maybe the class in general. These guys are standing at 6'3", 6'1", anywhere between 195 and 225 pounds. Does that say anything that may indicate that they need less grooming as far as the physical part of it as they enter the program?
I think for these four in particular, it varies. I think Marcus's grooming may be different than Berkle's. I think Adam's going to need some time in the weight room to bulk up. Marcus is more from the side of making sure it's good bulk, and I'm not sure. I think that 225 might be a little misleading, but and then if you look at Ted Pletsch, without a shirt on, you're going to see a man. He's a 20-year-old guy, and he's well put together, and obviously he's been in the weight room once or twice. So I think it's just going to vary. You add the four guys from the fall into this mix. I think Sullivan and Berkle have to put some time in the weight room. It's the first time they've probably ever been pushed in that area. You look at Ryan Carpenter; he's already well put together. Now, not to say they couldn't get better. And Connor Cusera and Ted Pletcher, these are men already. So it's just gonna, you'll never be too strong to play at this level. They're all eight of them are guys we're gonna challenge going into the summer, saying you need to be stronger than you currently are so you can step in, because one of the major steps from junior to college is that strength step, and we want them to make sure that they prepare themselves accordingly this summer. So they're all going to have adjusting to do physically. It may be a little bit different in terms of the specific adjustment, but we know them as people. They're going to be willing to do that, and they're looking forward to it.
As you look now at all 8 members that will be joining the Falcons next year, how do you grade the class as a whole? I'm certain that maybe it may not even be complete yet, but as it stands right now with the 8 individuals coming in next year, what are your thoughts?
As it stands right now, we're extremely happy about next year's class. Putting a grade on it is not fair, because I won't do that to the boys. We are very happy with these 8 young men. Wyatt Galley is the one that we didn't have as much to do with, or anything to do with, but in talking to Wyatt and spending time with him and monitoring him as we have, we're excited about him moving forward. And then the 7 guys that we had committed or brought in here, if you will, again, I think there's a purpose and there's a means to what we're doing. There's leadership there, there's size there, there's a winning mentality there, and they're guys that I think are coming to Bowling Green for the right reasons. They want to be part of this transition. They want to be part of the winning tradition that this hockey program once stood for, and we're looking forward to working with these guys on a daily basis. I think they obviously add to our depth and competition level in practice on a daily basis, and who knows, maybe we aren't done yet.
How many more kids do you expect to bring in?
There's not really a number, Kevin, where we need 11 or we need 10. I think it's a situation where if we feel people can help us, we're going to add them. We still feel our best number is 27, so we want to stay as close to that as we can. But we want to address some specific needs, and some of those needs, as we've talked about, are our power play and scoring more goals. And if we can add guys that we think can help us in any one of those areas, if there's room, then we'll address that. But right now, with the 8 guys we have, we're pursuing a 9th or a 10th, but I don't see it going much past 9 or 10.
What impact on the ice do you see the eight having?
Well, I see it them having an impact, because it's going to add to our daily practice depth and competition in practice. The current guys who make up our 17 coming back, they know that our depth is improving. They know that competition in practice is going up. They know that jobs are up for grabs, because they all know where we ended up last year in terms of the standings isn't good enough and isn't where we want to be. So they're going to make an immediate impact just in that alone. What kind of impact they make in games, well, that's yet to be seen. The guts of our team next year is going to be freshmen and sophomores, just like it was this year. But we're going to put the onus on the juniors and seniors to lead the way and continue modeling the lifestyle that we want to be known for. And we're looking forward to that, because there's no surprises now. Everyone knows what to expect, and we want to make sure those expectations are theirs. And I see these 8 guys fitting right in on a daily basis in terms of those expectations. Where that leads them to in terms of their impact in our lineup, game in and game out, well, that'll be based on practice and how they do on a daily basis.
Andrew Hammond's established himself as the number one. What do you see for Wyatt Galley?
Well, Wyatt is a scholarship goaltender. He's still somebody we have high expectations for. I see Wyatt as somebody that is coming in and he's going to prove to us and hopefully prove to himself that he can be a great goalie at the college level. He's going to have someone to learn from, like an Andrew Hammond. I think that's a good position for him to be in. To watch how a guy who we feel has all league potential, watch how he prepares on a daily basis and his focus level and just how much attention he pays to the small little details of his game. And Wyatt's a young guy, so he's going to be transitioning from a guy who's not going to school full-time to college full-time. So there's going to be lots of transition for him. I see him being a good, solid backup for Andrew. Now, that's something he's going to have to earn. Those are our expectations, but he's going to have to go and earn that, and he knows it. So we're looking forward to seeing him every day and seeing how he competes and how he battles for that job.
Would you expect Hammy to play maybe 60, 70, 80?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect, I think you hit it on the head. Andrew Hammond is our number one goalie going into next year. I think the percentage of games he plays is going to be based on his play and the play of the other 2 goalies. Both Wyatt and Scott are guys that we're going to have to start evaluating Wyatt, and we're going to have to continue to evaluate Scott. Obviously, Andrew's got some leeway there. He's the most proven and the only proven goaltender we'll have on our roster. But we feel good about our goaltending position, and I'm hoping the competition is as good as we think it could be within those 3 guys, knowing that Andrew's probably looking at playing the majority of the games. What that means, we'll see.
When you look at the 3D coming in, do you see them as top 4 defensemen next year, or maybe at some point?
At some point, we've recruited them to be top 4 defensemen. They've shown signs this year that they can be top 4 defensemen in college, based on what we feel in seeing them in junior, based on other kids we've seen in the past. If you're this in the USHL or you're this in the Ontario Provincial League, then there's a good chance you could be this in college. Now, that's going to be based on how well they transition and how quickly they transition from the junior game to the college game. But the expectations are extremely high for all 3 of them. And if all 3 of them aren't top 4 defensemen at some point, whether it's next year or some point during their career, then something's gone wrong, and we're not going to be happy about that. But I don't see that happening.
And then when you look at your forwards, are Mingo and Berkle top 6 forwards?
Well, I think that they're both going to have opportunities to prove that they are that. We feel you throw Ryan Carpenter in that mix as well as the 3rd forward. Ted is more of the role player guy, the penalty killer, the checker, get in there and forecheck and get after people. And those other 3 guys are adding depth to the top 9 potential. At the end of the day, all 3 of them are top 9, top 6 type guys. Whether they're that next year, well, again, that's going to depend on how quickly they transition, how good of a summer they have. Dajon Mingo skates like a top 6 forward in this league. Ryan Carpenter has shown signs of being a top 6 forward in college, but so is Berkle. So it'll just be a matter of that transition. I think those opportunities are there, but we also like the fact there's going to be lots of people fighting for those opportunities and competing for them on a daily basis. So that is only going to add to the competition level in practice and ultimately the depth of our team.
And when you look at all the 8 incoming players, do you see them all filling in on the special teams, whether it be power play or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I look at all of them contributing to that. Yes, I think that they've all done that in juniors. I think they're going to be guys that are going to be heard from before the end of the season when it comes to our special teams. I think they're guys that can all play on the special teams units, if you will, on both sides of it. And we don't promise incoming guys anything other than the opportunity, and we're looking forward to seeing them and what they do with that opportunity. So there's plenty of opportunity out there, and the expectations are high for all of them.
Leadership certainly was an issue, as you've mentioned several times this year. From what you've seen in the off-season workouts so far, now that you've been here for a year, they've had players know what's expected. Have things been better?
Things have been inconsistent still. I think that the work ethic, as we talked about from start to end of last season, was pretty darn good. On a daily basis, we worked very hard. But there's times where our work doesn't have purpose to it. It's not a collective unit of work. It's individuals working hard, but not pushing each other while they're working hard. There's not a lot of interaction. There's not a lot of engagement with everybody else. You watch our team right now, whether it's on the track or in the weight room or on the turf, I think there's guys working extremely hard. But there's times where that focus gets away of the collective and stays on the individual. We want that focus to be collective. We want them pushing each other. We don't want one guy not making the time and the other 11 do and no one paying attention to the one. We're saying the one needs to pick it up, yes, but they should be telling each other that. In the weight room, they need to be engaged, whether they're doing the reps or someone else is doing the reps. That, to us, is leadership. These are leadership opportunities. Are we presenting them to them and showing them that's a leadership opportunity? Yes, we are. And we're also telling people that the days of, well, I'm only a freshman or I'm only a sophomore, so it's not my concern, or they don't want me to be the leader. They just have to be over with. We need guys to step up, take ownership of this leadership role, and run with it. There's nobody that's excluded from that. We don't have one or two guys that those are our leaders. We want guys to start to establish themselves as that, because I do think we've got good followers. And that's something you need. You need good followers, but we need guys to take ownership of it and take this leadership role and run.
Is the leadership maybe more of an issue for the coming season with only 2 seniors?
Not more of an issue than this year.
Okay.
It's going to be along the same lines. But I do feel that it's something that we're going to address on a daily basis. Whether we have, I don't think we have one guy like last year, Solway across the board was our guy. Okay, we may have 4 or 5 or 6 guys. What does that mean? Okay, we're leading by committee, but do we have 6 guys wear A's? Do we have no one wear anything and just see? You know, we might have to get creative when it comes to leadership. We're expecting all to be leaders in their way. But I don't think we're in any, the only difference, the main difference between last year and this year is last year we had one guy who was heads and tails in the eyes of our players. One guy was the leader, and that was David Solway. Next year it's going to be a combination of 3 or 4 guys. And I think there's leadership in some people that are kind of sitting in the background. And we're trying to challenge them on a daily basis to step up, take ownership of the leadership role. Why not me type of thing. We want the approach to be, well, why can't it be me? And then go ahead and do it. Now, they have to be living a certain way, and their example has to be a good one, but we've got guys that are doing that. We've got good example, but we just need, I think, more of a focus on the collective versus just on the individual, and to me, that's leadership.
And I assume you don't care whether you have one person leading or 4 or 5 or 6,
Not
as
even,
long as it gets done.
Not even a little bit, as long as it gets done. As long as the expectations on a daily basis become that of that locker room and not just the coaching staff. And with that, the next step of it, they will hold each other accountable to that. So it's not us having to go in there and start to call people out or hold people accountable to it. They will hold themselves and each other accountable to it. That's the type of ownership I'm talking about. Make it yours and go and make this team and next year's success based on whatever you want it to be. If we have to step in, you know we will. But this has to be led by players, the guys that can go out on the ice every day and make a difference.